I didn't want to move to another corporate because there was no promise that it wasn't going to be the same way. So I knew that I had to start something of my own, although I had no idea what I wanted to do. I am publishing children's books. It blew my mind. And that's when I recognized that if I can do that using AI and start generating an income, what else can I do? Plus, what I've also recognized, and I never imagined this, is that this whole entrepreneurship game is 90% mindset.
100.
You just need 1,000 true fans. You need 1,000 people to pay you $100 a year.
Yeah.
Reverse that or change that, and you can say you need 100 people to pay you $1,000 over a year,
Yeah.
which is not very much.
No.
And that's a $100,000 revenue business. So when you start thinking of things like this, things become very achievable. Switch your mindset. You don't have to learn AI. You need to learn how to instruct it so that you can get things done. Because if you make this small mindset shift, you will not feel overwhelmed by everything you feel like you need to learn.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the season 3 show opener today with Abha. We started off knowing each other on Instagram and then we bumped into each other and that's blossomed into a lovely friendship. I'm so happy to have Abha here for the She Invest show's new season, which has been rebranded also from what used to be the Fantastic Females. I feel that this episode was a long time coming. I'm so happy to introduce you to Abha. Hi, Abha. How are you?
Really good, and I'm so happy to be here. And I also feel this was manifested because
Yeah.
we've been following each other on Instagram for a while. We've
Yes.
connected. I've always felt like I knew you. That's the beauty of these tools, right? And then we ran into each other one day because our kids went somewhere.
Yes.
And that was it. And we ended up co-working together, and now a friendship has started. So
Yes.
it's really wonderful. I'm so happy to be here.
Exactly. And I think we had 4 hours to sit and co-work. We probably didn't get a lot of work done because there were so many intersecting things that we could speak about, which is so wonderful. So welcome to the show. I feel that a lot of both of our mission has very kind of close ties in terms of targeting a similar demographic, being in Dubai. So before I get into any of that, I want to know, how did you end up in this ever-evolving landscape of AI? This is probably something you're asked a lot, but we'd like to start at the beginning.
Awesome. So I never thought this is what I would be doing. I'm a communications professional. I've been working in digital communications, public relations, social media, marketing, PR for the last 20 years. About 3 years ago, I kind of reached a ceiling in my corporate job, and I was not really growing professionally. I wasn't growing financially. I wasn't growing personally, and I wasn't seeing my kids. And that's when I recognized that something has to change. I didn't want to move to another corporate because there was no promise that it wasn't going to be the same way. So I knew that I had to start something of my own, although I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I started looking at side hustles. And I found this side hustle, which basically said you can publish low content books on Amazon and make a second income. And I was like, really? So I said, I'm going to try it. And the promise was you don't have to spend more than an hour a day or a few hours a week doing it. And I said, you know what? I can do this. At the same time, I had already started playing with AI at work. And this is pre-ChatGPT. So there was a tool called Jasper that came out at the time. It's still around. It was very expensive. It was $2,000 for the year. And my husband actually brought it to my attention because he's like, look, this tool has come out and I feel like it's doing what you do. And I was like, really? So he brought it to my attention. And then I was like, I have to try this. I've always been an early adopter of tech. I was one of the first early time bloggers, early time vloggers, very early on Facebook, very early on Twitter. So I had always been an early adopter purely because I enjoy the process of content creation and trying new things and expressing myself in different ways.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, let me try this tool out. And first I was a bit afraid because I was like, oh my God, this is literally doing everything I can do. And I was like, I better get to know this tool because it might take my job. And that's the fear a lot of people still have today about AI, right?
Yeah.
But then when I started using the tool, I recognized how amazing and incredible it was. However, I also recognized the more I worked with it, how it needs me to function the way it needs to function. So suddenly my fear had gone because I knew that the tool cannot do what I do to my quality and standards unless I'm involved. And when I'm involved, it can do what I do much better than me, but I have to be involved.
Wow.
And that gave me a big sense of relief. So when I was starting my side project, I was like, okay, I can do this side project, but I can do it with AI. I was already using AI for my work. And then what I started doing is I started writing, illustrating, designing children's books in like 20, 30 minutes and putting them on Amazon, Kindle Direct Publishing, and selling them. And a small trickle of income started coming in. And this was the aha moment for me. I was like, wait a minute. I'm publishing children's books, coloring books, storybooks, taking 20 minutes to produce, to write, illustrate, design, and publish each book because I'm using AI.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing anything else. And they're selling. It blew my mind. And that's when I recognized that if I can do that using AI and start generating an income, what else can I do? And not only what else can I do, but what else can women who are looking to do something on the side, maybe for a future pivot, or maybe even for a side income, what can they do with AI now that we have this? And that was the beginning of my journey, because that's when I said, I need to show women that anything is possible.
Wow.
But I didn't know how to show them that. And I said, I'm just going to teach them how to write, illustrate, design, and publish a children's book in 1 hour.
So was that your first course?
Yes.
That's the one I took first as well.
Okay.
But I think I took it much later when you were already speaking about many other things. And then at some point you must have mentioned it on your social media.
And it was a total fluke. I was like, it wasn't about creating a book, but I knew that a lot of women and moms had that on their bucket list. And I knew that a lot of them were not doing it because, oh, I don't have time. I need the skill set. It's going to take me ages.
Yeah.
I might have to hire an illustrator. I might have to hire a designer, a writer. How am I going to do this?
Yeah.
And the minute I showed them you can do it by yourself in less than an hour, that to me, more than demonstrating you can publish a book, it was demonstrating the possibility. Like if you can do this, what else can you do?
Yeah.
And that was the beginning. And I started with that workshop, ran it a few times.
Wow. So just to give you a quick update, the kids' book that I started off with, I was doing it with my son. It's become a magnum opus now it's become a series. It opens so many things up because now I'm wondering if I could do my parents' biographies, etc., or I could do a simple something for my business that I could also have on Amazon. It really opens doors up with something as simple as that. Right. So was that last year or before that?
No, this was 2022.
Very early adopter then of...
So
because it was
ChatGPT
November.
was out 2022 November.
November, yeah.
So I think I launched, so then the course must have been launched the next year. Because that's when I did it then.
Right.
I started doing it then, and then I wanted to teach it. So a year later, I think it was probably October 2023 then.
Okay. Still very, very early. I want to ask you about the fact that is an obvious kind of question that keeps coming up around ChatGPT. A lot of us are using it for so many various things. We were speaking about taking help for writing emails, content creation that I want to go more into later. Do you think we're becoming lazy, or do you think it's having an impact on our skills? The differentiator between someone being well-read, well-spoken versus not being very well-read, all of that's kind of becoming homogenized a little bit now?
Absolutely, it's a problem. So what ChatGPT is doing is it is reducing our cognitive load. So when it reduces our cognitive load, essentially in simple language, it just means that it's reducing our ability to think. So the neuroplasticity in our brain can reduce, and therefore it can actually diminish our ability to think, be creative, things like this. But we do have control over how we use these tools, which is why we need to be very intentional about how we use them. We shouldn't be lazy using them, and that is a very personal, intentional decision. We need to use it to do our low leverage, mundane tasks so that we have more time to think, so that we have more time to be creative. So a lot is how we use the tool. We need to use it to augment our mind, augment our knowledge, our experience.
So tell me a few things that either you recommend or you do to still stand out, which is not part of, AI. Yeah, I'd love to know that.
So I think, like you said, the AI slop is real. Like you're very polite in saying it's homogenized, but it's sloppy. It's literally really bad content. So unless you are involved, unless there's a really good combination of human intelligence and artificial intelligence, everything else is going to go out of the window. Like the value of information now has become zero because everyone can get everything at their fingertips. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, recently said in one of his interviews that ChatGPT 5 is, better than 99% of the experts on the planet. So the information is there, the knowledge is there. But what is not there is our personal experience, knowledge, mind that we need to add to that to actually make it something unique.
Yes. So that's very, very applicable, especially in content creation, right? Which is what you do a lot of. You work in this sphere a lot. How did you go from then kids' books to content? Update me on that journey.
Because I recognize that I am not a children's book writer. I'm a writer, but I am not a children's book writer. It's been on my list to do, but it's not something I have experience in. I'm also not an illustrator. While I can piece something together, I couldn't really double down on that because I don't have the skill set. If I was an illustrator and then teaching people how to do illustrations in AI, I think I would add more value. But since I didn't have those skills, I didn't want to continue that. So I decided, okay, what skills do I have? And it was my communication skills. So I've been working in communications, public relations, online reputation management, social media, marketing my entire life. So I decided, how can I take everything that I know in communications and marry that with everything I understand about AI and make it very simple for female entrepreneurs, course creators, service providers, anybody who really wants to position themselves online. How can I help them learn how to do that very simply using AI?
Yeah. And I wanted to ask if you work only with women business owners or do you target everyone?
So I am specifically targeting women purely because I feel I can serve them better. I feel like there's enough tech bro out there.
Very much so.
And there aren't enough women teaching women. I feel as a woman trying to learn AI to learn from a man purely because of the language and the way they teach and just, the way the vibe is different.
Yeah.
Right. So I am very much focused on women.
That's wonderful. I think having the focus really helps in your voice being very clear, right? And I have very similar kind of approach to what I do as well. And there's enough finance bro energy out there. So are there any specific kind of gaps that you see with women and their uptake with AI that you would not see, let's say, with men? Or just from your experience, what are the few things that keep people from making the best use of it, keep women from making the best use of it?
I think the first is really, I think everyone's just opening their laptops and using ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's doing that no matter what.
Yeah.
But I think the gap is how to move forward from that and actually use it in a more productive and more intelligent way.
Yeah.
Either there's lack of awareness that there is another way, or if they understand that there's another way, there's this fear of, oh, I'm not techie. I can't build a GPT. I can't code an app. I can't build my own dashboard. I'm not techie. And that's a misconception because these tools aren't techie. You don't need any background. They're so intuitive and they've been built for anybody and everybody. Yeah. So one is that, basically recognizing that you can literally put any idea you have in your mind to market in 24 hours if you wanted to. You don't have to hire a developer. You don't have to hire a software engineer. You don't have to literally do anything. You can literally tell Claude Code or ChatGPT code to build you something, and you don't need to have any skills. You can build your own automations and you don't need to know anything. You just need to know how to give instructions. A lot of women don't go to that step because they stop thinking, either they don't recognize that they can or they need to, but they soon will because they'll recognize the work that they're producing is going to be average or sub-average because everyone's going to be doing the same thing.
I can already tell the difference between a content piece that's been written by ChatGPT. I'm sure you've got a very strong radar to identify this. I wanted to then find out about how you manage to keep up with all the tools coming up, because I'm guessing a lot of what keeps people into their comfort zone or away from AI or not maximizing its potential is probably just simply feeling overwhelmed that now having to learn Claude to build an app and the steps that it needs, all of that sounds quite overwhelming sometimes. I didn't even, for example, know a person could think that they didn't even know that they needed a dashboard, but now that I know Claude does a dashboard, maybe I do. So there's a lot of distracting kind of directions that you can be pulled in, and that itself becomes quite overwhelming. So earlier as well, what I was saying was that mindset of I'm not good with tech or black boxing technology comes from a certain sense of overwhelm, right? So I'm guessing you definitely see a lot of this. And then how do you keep yourself updated?
Good question. Two very good questions. So when I work with my students, I tell them all that you don't need to master tools, not any tool. And you don't need to go beyond the top 5 tools, which are ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, Grok, Claude. You need to pick one of these 5.
Nice.
And that's it. So if it's ChatGPT, just stick to ChatGPT, blinkers on, forget about everything else. If it's Copilot, because maybe you're a Microsoft user, stick to it. You literally don't need any other tool because these tools can do 99.9% of the jobs and they're developing at an incredible rate.
Yeah.
So if they can't do it today, they can do it tomorrow. So trying to learn multiple tools, in my opinion, is a waste of time. If you know how to use one tool, you even don't have to master that tool. You just need to learn what you want to use it for. I believe in just-in-time learning. Use the tool for what you need to use it for. How can this tool help you do something better, faster, smarter? And that's it. The new thing I've started telling a lot of my students is you actually don't need to learn AI. You need to learn how to lead it. It knows everything already. You just need to know how to get it to do what you want.
Because I was going to ask, is there even any mastering it? I don't think so. At the pace,
It's impossible. And anybody who says that they're an AI expert genuinely can't be one because the tools are changing all the time. If you watch Sam Altman's interviews, and the reason I come back to Sam Altman all the time as the CEO of OpenAI, who's built ChatGPT, is because he's one of the very few spokespeople who not only is very vocal about what's happening with these tools, but he's also building a tool. He's just not just a thought leader. He's actually developing the tools. You ask him 4 out of 5 questions about the tools, and he doesn't have an answer. He's like, I don't know. It's all one big experiment.
Yeah.
So it's all about just understanding how to use the tool to get what you need to get done in a better, smarter way. And once you've got that, then you will have the bandwidth to see how you can use these tools to do something else, which can really, take your creativity or whatever you want to use it for to build, to create to the next level. So I tell my students, you don't need to master any tools. You don't need to use multiple tools. The other problem with all these other tools beyond the top 5 is that their backend is probably OpenAI or one of the 5 because their APIs are open and it's just white labeled and designed differently. It has a different user interface, so it makes it easier to use. So they're already probably just using ChatGPT. So why would you want to pay 3 times more for something else? But, if that works better for you, that's fine. Yeah. But the other thing you need to be wary of that these tools may not last. Because the way ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude are evolving, Grok even, they're probably going to wipe out most other small developers pros and cons to that, of
Yeah.
course. But that tool may not be around 6 months from now because it may not be able to keep up. Because the truth is, why would I pay for another tool if ChatGPT can do it? Because all the costs stack up.
So how do you keep up with all the millions of tools out there? There's a tool for everything at this point. I've literally just recently implemented, they call it an AI employee, so employee with an AI instead of the E. And it answers all my questions, all questions coming in. It knows enough about my programs, etc. And it's superb because it's a chatbot trained on my programs. Very niche usage, and it only works as link in bio. And I'm sure there are tools for having voiceovers, making songs, instruments. And how do you keep up?
Very good question. So I went through this rabbit hole of I have to keep up with everything and I have to know everything because I teach this stuff. And then I very quickly recognized that I can't, that nobody can. I literally, actually last week, unsubscribed to about 100 different newsletters that I follow. And the only reason I used to subscribe to them is because I would feel, I need to know this and I like this person, so I will subscribe. This person will help me stay up to date. And that was actually leading me.
Yeah.
And the truth is, nobody can keep up to date. So once I recognized that it's impossible to keep up to date, I now don't worry about it. I just worry about how can I serve my audience for what they need me for in the best way.
This is
And-
very similar to investing and finance as well. It's such a wide
Correct.
ocean. Oh, lovely. How many were you subscribed to?
I'm still subscribed to quite a lot. So I do pay a lot of money for tools because I also want to learn.
Yeah.
But what I'm using them for is a lot more specific. So I probably have a tool stack of maybe, I probably pay for 10, 11 tools.
Okay.
Not too bad. So I've reduced a lot.
Manageable. Yeah.
I've reduced a lot because when I started seeing my bills at the end of the month, I was like, okay, this is not sustainable. And I wasn't making use of all the tools.
I want to ask something that's crossed my mind so many times, which is the fact that until I think 30th of November 2022, was it the exact date of the November 22 in when ChatGPT launched? All of this was just waiting. This ocean, this tsunami of AI was just waiting to barrage into our lives. I mean, why has it taken that milestone for all of this to come into our lives? It feels like as if this was ready and waiting, or everyone's just kind of going into a herd mentality of creating new AI tools. Which one is it? I want to understand.
So the way I understand it is, so AI has been around for a long time, right? AI has been around since the 60s, maybe even earlier.
What would you consider AI as then?
So basically machines that can do things that humans can do.
Right.
This
Machine
is
learning?
Machine learning, deep learning.
Right.
You know, if you've watched the movie, what's it called? Imitation Game, Alan Turing. He did the Alan Turing test. The Alan Turing test was the first test in, I want to say 1960s, where he determined that a machine is capable of doing what a human can do. And he created a machine that actually passed the Turing test. So AI has been worked on, deep learning, machine learning, for a long time now. I think the difference between then and now, and do you remember Ask Jeeves?
Yes, I do actually.
Which was also around before. This was like some ancient, not
it
ancient.
didn't work very well.
But it was still
But it was
AI,
there,
So it's been around. But I think the reason why it's come into the public domain the way it has now is because OpenAI, that built ChatGPT, put it in the hands of the public by
Right.
releasing it for free.
Right.
And they released it for free at a very early stage.
Right.
So what ChatGPT was in 2022 is totally different to what it is now. And they've been building in public because they couldn't continue building this AI without human input. But it's the first time in the history of humanity that a company has put bots, a certain level of intelligence, in the hands of the public, and they made it free.
What a disruptor, right?
And that's literally what I think. If they had introduced it with a fee, like Jasper was around before, but it was so expensive that the uptake was very low because not everyone wants to spend $2,000
Yeah.
for a tool. But
Yeah.
when ChatGPT just came out free, and promised the world, everyone was like, I'm going to try this.
Right.
And I genuinely feel that when it came out, it was all about discovery. Everyone was like, what is this? What is this? What is this? So it came out 2022. So 2023 was a lot of discovery.
Yes.
Everybody was just jumping on the bandwagon, playing with this tool. It was one big experiment. It's still an experiment, and I think it will continue to be an experiment. But 2024 was really when people started using the tool to see some kind of return on investment, started implementing it somehow to, work in their business or in their personal life, because they started to learn how to use it for day-to-day tasks.
Yeah.
And now 2025 is when I think automations have really, taken a leap, and we've entered the world of agents.
Yes.
So I feel like next we're looking at an influx of agentic AI.
Do you subscribe to this line of thinking about the machines are out to get us? The machines we've made a big mistake. I think these are thumbnail hooks that kind of put in place for people, maybe like myself, to get us to click on these videos or podcasts. Do you subscribe to any of this apocalypse porn, if I can call it,
I'll tell you something very interesting. So I was watching, again, Sam Altman video on what his biggest fear is when it comes to AI. He's the guy. He knows.
Right.
He's up there with everyone building these systems. He's like, his biggest fear is something that he calls silent surrender, which is where we kind of just let AI do things for us. And it ends up doing it so well that we no longer get involved because AI is going to do it better. So we start getting out of the picture. So essentially, his biggest fear is, are we going to reach a stage where the silent surrender is going to become so massive that we are letting AI control us because we are no longer participating in the process? It starts with being lazy, and then it's like, let AI do it. It's easy.
Yeah.
And he gives the example of chess. I can't remember which year it was, but a while back, there was an AI called Deep Blue that defeated Garry Kasparov in chess.
Okay.
And that really made people start to think, what does this mean if a machine can actually beat the world champion in chess? And what ended up happening is more and more tools came out where you could use AI to help you get better at chess. People would use AI to help them get better at chess. And if they got involved in the decision-making of what move they should make next, they were losing. So they started giving up control to the AI, and they would just do what the AI said for chess, because human involvement was actually making them lose.
Right.
And this is a very narrow example of a chess game. So because the bot was saying, look, don't get involved because we're losing because of you.
I can do better.
I can do better. So then that's just a small example of surrendering, and then he says something like, what if the president of the United States just takes commands from ChatGPT?
Yeah.
What does that mean for us as a human race? So that is kind of leading towards what you're talking about, the AI taking over.
I wonder if they or you think about the fact that innovation could probably take a break now. Sometimes I think back to the times of Nokia's 3310. Maybe that's where it should have stopped. This is all very hypothetical, but then I understand about the growth mindset, and which takes me to my next kind of set of questions. We've spoken a whole lot about AI, and I understand that this is the subject matter that you're talking about a lot, but you run a business on this subject matter, which itself also is very time consuming. It's also a whole engine that needs to be run as smoothly as possible. How are you finding that journey? You've been in business, I would say, coming to 2 years now.
So January 2024. So almost 2 years. It's a hustle. I'm not going to lie. Entrepreneurship is a totally different game than anything in the corporate world. And it's actually made me recognize how easy it is to have a corporate job.
Wow.
Compared to being an entrepreneur. because I feel being an entrepreneur of any sort challenges you on every level of your being.
Yeah.
Mentally, your beliefs about the world, about you, about what you can do, what you can't do, your self-worth, everything.
Self-development on crack.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I am loving the journey. I am very grateful that I get to do this. I'm determined to make it work, and I really believe in the work that I'm doing, and that helps me keep going.
Yeah. With entrepreneurship also, what comes is a lot of pivots that you need to keep taking, as we've already kind of mentioned your progression from the kids book publishing course to what you're doing now. And through all of the pivots, what has helped you the most? What keeps you going? What kind of helps you find that new direction? Because that, in my experience, makes entrepreneurship very complicated, where there is no set kind of boundary. There is no, everything is led by you. And that comes with a sense of responsibility, and the pivots then could go either way. Like you said, it's a big experiment. Sometimes business also feels a little bit like that. What keeps you kind of motivated? Do you fall back on coaches, communities? We've spoken about this personally quite a bit. So let's bring it on record.
You can't do this alone.
Yes.
And I recognized very early on that you can spend all your time on YouTube figuring it out yourself, but the only way to keep at it and stay encouraged is to be part of a community or coaching group that is where you want to be. That's the only thing that's helped me stay on track and helped me stay sane through this journey, because the language is different. You need to be in a community where the person leading the community is where you want to be, because that's the fastest way to get where you want to be. Plus, what I've also recognized, and I never imagined this, is that this whole entrepreneurship game is 90% mindset.
And yes, you're right.
If not 95% mindset.
I was going to say, yeah.
Because if you don't have the right mindset, you're just not going to be able to stick with it, because it literally questions every level of your being, each cell in your body.
Yeah.
And it's such a mind game. So you always need someone to be able to tell you, don't worry about it. Doesn't matter. Move on, or whatever that might be, or give you that pat on the back when you need it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we don't feel like we deserve it because we've not seen a certain amount of revenue in our business, or we're not where we want to be, or we've not hit the milestone. And it's very easy to feel defeated and question everything. Like, why are we doing this? Why are we wasting our time? But the truth is, you can only move forward by learning. And if you recognize that every failure, and I hate to use the word failure, but literally every downfall is a learning.
Yeah.
And if you can shift your mindset to recognize that, that's what's going to get you over the hard times.
Exactly.
Because like one of my coaches always says, it's just data. You did something, it didn't work. It's data. Now you know this doesn't work. Okay, so what does work? And the other thing is, the clarity doesn't come until you take action.
Yes.
And this is the misnomer everyone has. Oh, I'm just going to plan. And when it's ready, I'm going to see. And when I do this, it will work. No, you will not know if it's going to work until you put it out. The clarity comes after taking action.
That's a comfort zone as well, right? To kind of stay on your desk and keep planning, stay behind the screen, because it's scary to put things into action.
It's the same thing with the business you do, with the financial investments that you teach people to do. I'm sure you can only give them so much advice, and then they have to be like, okay, I'm going to try it.
This is exactly it. And one of my biggest frustrations is to get people to meet me halfway, because I think you're probably the only person I've met, definitely locally, whom I've been able to have the chat at the same level about investing into coaches, about feeling as aligned in, about being in communities and recognizing the need and the purpose that they play in our journeys. So not everyone sees it the same way, and not everyone shows up with the same amount of commitment and energy and action, which is what I think is required, which is the 90%, 95% of the mindset that we're speaking about. Because it's easy and instant gratification to sign up for something. What you do after is what accounts for transformation, right? So that's definitely my journey in the communities I'm in and with my mentees as well, to kind of bring them to the point of, meet me halfway. You've paid for this. Okay, great. That shows commitment. But now let's get on to doing the work that we need to do. So, does that take up a lot of your time? How do you manage your time from a mom to a mom, from a business owner to a business owner, friend to friend? This is something that I would really like to know and learn about.
A lot of things have had to go. So I have zero social life, but I'm okay with that. A really good friend once told me every decision is a trade off. So you have to be okay with trading things off. So, for example, I have literally no social life. The only thing I really do for myself is exercise, because that's a non-negotiable. It's directly related to my mind. So I almost think it's part of my business, because I can't function without it. So literally anything that doesn't serve me at the moment just has to go. It's been hard, but it's the only way. The only thing that I don't want to go and is non-negotiable to not go is time with the family. I have 2 small children, my husband. This is our unit. It's a very, tight unit. So business and family are the only 2 priorities I have. Literally anything and everything else has just gone. And it's hard. And there are days where I feel like I'm very isolated, but it's the choice I've made. And that's when these communities are super useful.
Yeah.
Like there are times where I jump in this community and I've just had like a personal chat because I'm feeling like lost or low. And then that gets me back on track. So it is hard. I use AI and I get my work done very quickly, but it's so much other work that you have to keep doing. Work on your mind, work on your own growth. How can you fill your own cup personally and professionally so that you can pour back into whoever you're serving? This is work.
Of course.
And it's priorities.
Yeah, very much so. And I feel that AI takes care of the drudge work, but there's so much more that as growth driven professionals or entrepreneurs, we want to keep pushing the boundaries. So there's always another email that you can write, another email sequence you can write, another lead magnet that you could be coming up with. So it never really ends. And that takes me to the question of, do you find, since you're slightly kind of, your corporate career is closer to when mine was, this was one thing that I found quite challenging, which is the fact that you can't justify resting sometimes. Has that been a journey for you as well, between the AI learning and the business learning and having the 2 come together? There's very little time, or it becomes hard to switch off.
100%. I dream of my business. I'm I'm rehearsing my next webinar as I'm closing my eyes to go to bed. I am working all the time. And my husband says it too. Like, you're working all the time. But of course, he supports it and he appreciates it. We are working all the time. And we are in the early stages of our journey. But I truly believe that we are putting in this work, or I'm putting in this work now, to have a certain level of freedom 3 to 5 years from now.
Yeah.
And that's just the trade-off.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm working all the time.
Me too.
Work after the kids go to bed, but I'm trying really hard to make sure that I do have pockets of time with my kids, especially where I'm not on my phone, I'm not on my computer, and also get pockets of time with my husband where we're still connecting, having conversations, because it's very easy to be totally drowned in your own business. And I feel like you might be the same. We're kind of obsessed with what we're doing.
Exactly.
And I think that's a good thing, because if you're not obsessed, you're not going to cut it, there's no get rich quick scheme here. You have to be in it for the long term. There is no short term fix that's going to make you a multimillionaire.
Definitely not with investing, which is what a lot of people end up coming into She Invest to learn. So tell me where you want to see your business going. What is driving you right now? I'd love to know where you see yourself or the business in 2-3 years from now?
I would like to reach a stage where my business is self-sustaining. So right now, I'm very much in a feast and famine cycle where I have really good months and then not very good months. So I'm in that process at the moment. How can I have regular good months? Once I have regular good months, I want to try and scale those regular good months. The coaching communities that I'm in are full of women who work 20 hours a week and serve their communities amazingly and still have time for their family, friends, and a life.
Yeah.
This is what I would like for myself. I want to do meaningful work that has an impact, but I also want to have time for my family. So that's the ultimate goal. How can I run a business that fulfills me professionally, personally, financially, whilst not sacrificing all my time and energy with my family?
This is exactly my dream as well, which is probably why we
connect.
have so many things in common. Right. And you don't have anyone to help you with the business either, right? Apart from AI, which I find so interesting. So, who all do you have on your AI team? Can you give
Yes.
us?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I have like 20 team members on my AI team. So I have a copywriter, a content planner, an accountant, an email writer. I have an Instagram caption writer. I have a YouTube planner. I have a podcast
Yeah.
team member. It's called the Podcast Pro. I have a messaging team member who just works on my messaging. So I probably have about 20 team members that I've fully trained on my business that act as junior interns, was the best thing I can say.
Yeah.
I believe that until you've reached a certain revenue in your business, you can do it by yourself. And I'm
Right.
also out there to demonstrate that.
Yeah, very much
So
so.
we'll see.
What takes the most amount of time in your business right now with all these 20 working for you?
All the running of my business content wise and getting things up and going does not take time because I've got my systems in place when
Yeah.
it comes to generating content, putting stuff out there to be seen so that people come into my world. This is all set. What is taking me longer is the back end. How can I build bigger systems, whether that's a funnel or multiple funnels, and then connect them all together so that I have like a larger ecosystem that's all working together. And that's something I'm still trying to figure out, which is why I'm working in communities with people who have already done it. You actually need to map your customer journey. You have to see how are you serving people, at what level are you serving them, how are they coming into your world, what happens when they come into your world, where do they go when they come into your world, what do you offer them, and then how do you continue having a relationship with them so that they stay in your world and they can become regular, loyal customers. So it's that obviously I don't know how to do that because I've not run a business like this before. That learning that and experimenting with it to see what works is the time.
Exactly. And I was going to say, it's not about running a business like this before or not. It's very much about learning it as it happens. Like you said, clarity comes from taking the action, after taking the action. So it's one thing. I think also as entrepreneurs who have, money on the line, time and effort on the line, we often tend to ask or find reassurance or be looking for reassurance in coaches, communities, etc. And sometimes the reassurance doesn't, I think that's also like a pattern that you figure out about yourself, and it doesn't come from anywhere. It doesn't need to come from anywhere. It can only come from taking the action, making it into an experiment, and having fun with it. So, Abha, what would you like to say to anyone starting on their journey first as an entrepreneur?
Now with AI at our disposal, there's really no barriers to starting it. So whether you're in a full-time job and you have an idea, or whether you're already an entrepreneur and you're starting out, just go for it because we literally have everything at our fingertips. It wasn't like this 5 to 10 years ago. Everything required an additional skill set, which meant either hiring somebody or spending a lot of money and time to acquire that skill set. That no longer stands. So if you're an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, now is the time to go for it.
But do you feel that the niches have narrowed down as well for someone who could have simply just become a freelance copywriter? They might be second, third guessing themselves now and their skills. How do you deal with that?
No, 100%. I think the future is in niches because the generic stuff is all being taken care of by AI.
Right.
So the more specialized you can be in what you're offering and to whom, I think the better you will do, because you also don't need many people to have a sustainable business. There's a very famous essay by Kevin Kelly, which stands today, and the essay was written many, many years ago. You just need 1,000 true fans. You need 1,000 people to pay you $100 a year.
Yeah.
Reverse that or change that, and you can say you need 100 people to pay you $1,000 over a year,
Yeah.
which is not very much.
No.
And that's a $100,000 revenue business. So when you start thinking of things like this, things become very achievable. So yeah, hyper specialization, and I think is going to be the winner moving forward.
And for anyone who wants to start off with their AI journey, I'm guessing this is probably one of your most frequently asked questions. Teach me AI. I want to learn AI. And if they want to be in touch with you, learn from you, please give us a few tips.
Switch your mindset. You don't have to learn AI. You need to learn how to instruct it so that you can get things done. Because if you make this small mindset shift, you will not feel overwhelmed by everything you feel like you need to learn.
Yeah.
You literally need to look at your workflow and the work you do and what you spend the most time on. And your first goal should be, how can I reduce the amount of time I spend doing this task and still do it very well? What do I need to use AI? What AI tool can help me do that? Now, like I said, don't go shopping for multiple tools. Use one of the 5. It's probably going to be ChatGPT. Stick to ChatGPT. And until you've maxed ChatGPT out, don't even look at any other tools. And that will automatically reduce a lot of overwhelm because you're just working with one tool. So that would be my advice when it comes to using AI for something. Pick one tool.
How can people find you? What are you teaching these days? Give us more details.
So I'm an AI brand and content specialist. I help female founders learn how to use AI for their content. And the reason why content, because my background is communications, and there are a lot of people teaching you how to use AI for content, but nobody really has, very few people, actually, honestly, I don't know many people who are teaching you how to use AI for your content who have communications experience.
Yeah.
So I'm really marrying those two things and offering it to anybody who's interested in doing their own content. And the truth is, content is the driving force of all businesses, because especially when you're starting out, no matter what level of business you're at, your visibility depends on your content.
100%.
Your sales depend on how much you're seen, and that's all marketing, which is all content. So content is the driving force of your business visibility. And generative AI, which is tools like ChatGPT, Copilot, Grok, Claude, is generative AI, and they are large language models. What they do is content related.
Right.
So that's what I teach. I have a program called the AI Brand and Content Lab that I run a few times a year. And that's my main program. I also have loads of free resources on my website, and you can find me on Instagram and LinkedIn. And I'm always trying to share as much value as I can. So if anyone's interested, find me on Instagram or LinkedIn and come say hi.
Yes, perfect. We'll link all your resources or all the ways to find you in the show notes. Thank you very much for coming and for being so open always, whether that's on social media or in personal chats, in everything that you kind of have to offer. You always offer it with a lot of generosity. Thank you so much, Abha, for being so approachable. I really appreciate that. It's rare to find, I think, in the market. And I hope we'll do a few things together going forwards.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.